I'm a guy in my 20s working part-time at a convenience store. This unforgettable incident is the scariest thing I've ever experienced while working here. It was a few months ago. There was a boy who came to the convenience store every day. He looked like a middle school student and wore a baseball cap. However, he was always crying whenever I looked closely at his face. I thought he might have some backstory. Seeing him every day, I felt a sense of closeness toward him. So I asked him what was going on, but he always kept his mouth shut and never said anything. The strange thing was that there was always a very big guy following him. At first, I thought he would be one of his family members, but he had a suspicious look about him. One day, the child hesitated as if to tell me something. Then the big guy approached him, and he glanced at the man and went outside with him. I knew something was going on. He seemed like he needed help. I made up my mind to talk to him and help this poor kid when he comes in next time. The next day, the boy came back to the convenience store. Still, he was wearing a baseball hat, and the big guy was following from behind. Once again, I plucked up my courage and asked quietly what was going on. He glanced back and seemed to say something, but said nothing. I whispered to him, "I'll help you. I'll call the police if you need me to." Then he opened his eyes wide and quietly said, "No." He looked terrified. Poor thing. I wanted to help this kid. Then the man behind looked at us with a frown, approached us, and quickly took the child outside. I couldn't get the kid out of my head the entire time, but I didn't know what to do. The next day, he showed up again. I told him again that I would help any way I could. He still remained silent and gave me no response. This time, I eventually decided to follow the kid. After he left, I closed the convenience store and followed him in secret. I guessed that the child was living close to the convenience store, and I was right. I found out the location of his house. When this big guy who was always following the child went somewhere else, I grabbed the kid's shoulder. He looked at me with a shocked face, looked around, and soon began to talk to me. He said that he was kidnapped and was watched by the other men. I don't know when they would come. He also told me to run as soon as possible. Hey, let me help you. However, he kept saying that if I called the police, we would all die. Then he hurriedly pushed me and went into the house. I was so confused. Then two larger men suddenly approached and asked me, "What are you doing here? Do you know the kid?" While I was in a panic, they suddenly grabbed me, tried to drag me into the house, and one rummaged in his pockets. I pushed them away with all my might and ran like crazy. I could hear the men shouting, "Get back here, or I'll kill this kid." I was worried about him, but I had no choice but to run in fear. Eventually, I got out of there and shivered for a long time. I tried to call the police, but suddenly remembered the child's face telling me not to call them. I couldn't do anything. Time just went by, but I didn't even have the courage to go there again. I haven't seen him since that day. After so many days, he no longer showed up at the convenience store. He was even no longer seen near his house. After that, I quit working at the convenience store and stayed in fear for a long time. But I still live that day in my mind. It's just a constant loop. I wonder what happened to the kid. What kind of men were they? And is he still alive?
My name is Gianna. This incident occurred when I had just finished high school. I was looking for a small and cheap apartment to live in. One day, I was scrolling on this website which had a whole bunch of cheap apartments. Then, one apartment caught my eye, so I checked the description. It seemed pretty good except for the fact that it had a room for a roommate. Honestly, I didn't mind having a roommate as long as it was a girl. And there was a girl who was already living there, so I happily agreed to meet her. My mom came with me to look at the apartment. She said it was a nice place. She also helped me move all my stuff in. Then I met my roommate Connie, and I finally finished unpacking. She seemed like a nice person, but we didn't really say much to each other. One night, I was about to go to bed when I saw Connie walk out of her room, wearing black pants and a white cardigan. "Where are you going?" I asked her. "I'm just going to the bar for a little bit with my friends," she answered blankly. This wasn't the first or second time I saw that kind of reaction from her, so I wasn't particularly surprised to see her like that. I went to bed again, but soon I woke up again from the sound of someone crying. It sounded over-exaggerated and dramatic. So I got out of bed and stood in the hallway to see where it was coming from. Connie's bedroom door was slightly open, and it seemed like the crying was coming from her room. Feeling uneasy, I decided to go and see what was happening there, but immediately felt a sharp pain in my foot when I approached her room. I yelped quietly and flung my back onto the wall. When I looked under my foot, I could see the shards of glass scattered all over the floor. Oh crap. I decided to go wash my foot and came back out into the hallway in my slippers. When I came inside, there was no one in her room, but her clothes were thrown all over the floor, which was kinda weird. That's when I realized the crying was coming from behind the door. I looked to see who was there, and to my surprise, a woman was standing behind the door crying, with no clothes on and holding a knife. It happened in the blink of an eye. She jabbed the knife straight into my leg. Screaming at the top of my lungs in pain, I ran to my bedroom, locked the door, and grabbed a scarf. When I tried to wrap the scarf around my leg, I saw the knife was still stuck inside. I was terrified that the woman was still out there and ended up calling 911. The cops soon arrived at the apartment, and fortunately, she got arrested on the spot. After they investigated the apartment, they found 3 of Connie's fingers inside of a jewelry box. Since then, I have never lived in an apartment with a roommate again.
The story's about my friend and her 6-year-old son. One day, she brought a new phone. When she came home from work, she started cooking dinner and left her phone down on the kitchen table. Her son came into the kitchen and saw the phone. He asked his mother if he could play with it, and she actually told him yeah, as long as he did not call anyone or delete any text messages. So of course the boy agreed and went off to his bedroom, well actually his mother's bedroom, to play with the phone. Around 10 p.m. that night, she went upstairs to tuck him in, and she found him fast asleep on the bed. The new phone was lying on the ground beside the bed. She picked it up and began browsing through the settings to make sure he had not deleted anything. She noticed some minor changes. He had changed the theme, the background, and had given her a new ringtone. She noticed that he had taken some pictures with the phone. She opened the images folder and browsed through the phone. How cute, she thought. He had been taking selfies. Then she came across the last photo in the folder. When she first saw it, she couldn't quite believe it. Were her eyes playing tricks on her? It was a photograph of her son lying asleep on her bed. But the disturbing thing was that there was someone lurking in the far left corner of the picture. It seemed to show the left side of a creepy old woman's face. Until this day, her son could never answer the question about who that woman was and how she got in there.
We vibe into a different height. hard. I believe I can fly. Da-dee-da-da-da, with you by my side. I believe I can fly. Da-dee-da-da-da, you make me go so high. I believe I can fly. Believe, da-dee-da-da-da, with you by my side. I believe I can fly. Believe, da-dee-da-da-da, you make. Have you found love just yet? I heard you got new friends. Please know that I've been missing you. We are a little bit different now. That's okay, we needed to find our ground and go our separate ways. 'Cause we grew apart and got older. Happiness was just round the corner, so we drifted away. But that's okay. Hi guys, thank you for watching. I love you guys so much. Please like and subscribe to see more great videos. See you again.